I'm Nikki and welcome to the Preppy Possum. Today I'm going to lead you step by step through a painting. So we're going to paint some red geraniums. So let's go ahead and start with like a number 6 size brush, or you could even use a little smaller if you wanted to, but I'm going to start with like a number 6 and dry it off. And let's grab a little bit of like a caramel brown, and you can even mix a tiny bit of orange with it because I'm going to do kind of like a terracotta colored pot. So some caramel with a little orange. And we're just gonna skip up from the bottom at least like an inch and skip in from the right hand side like 5 or 6 inches. And we're gonna do a little droopy line, kind of like a little smiley. And you can always make yours bigger if you want your pot to be a little bit bigger. And then once we get our smiley on there, we're just gonna throw a little line that it kind of goes straight up for like 2.5 inches or so. You can have it lean a little if you want. If you do a bigger pot, I'd probably have it lean out just a smidge. And then once you have that, we'll go ahead and throw a little droopy line that just kind of parallels the bottom. And this one can come out a little bit further because it's going to be like the rim of our terracotta pot. So I'd throw it out just a smidge on each side. And then once you get that, just kind of throw you a little line going straight up for like an inch or so. And then even though we'll probably end up covering this top line, let's go ahead and throw another little line that just kind of parallels it. And then we'll use those colors and just kind of fill it in. And don't worry if it's a little streaky because we'll come back and throw some more paint on there. All right, so we have the first part of our pot. And then once we have that, go ahead and just kind of wipe that one off so you don't have to rinse it. Just kind of wipe it off a little bit and grab some really dark green. You could even mix just a tiny bit of black with it, just so it'll be really dark, because we'll come back and add lights to it, but grab some really dark green. And we'll just kind of start right here. Let's start right to the left of our pot. And we're going to throw kind of like a geranium leaf. So it's kind of like, it gets a little wider on both sides, and then it kind of droops in the middle. But I wouldn't worry about like what it looks like too much right now, because we'll come back and make them look better. And then once you get that one, let's go ahead and skip right here to the top of our pot, and we'll go ahead and throw a couple that go over that top edge. And then we'll skip over here to the right, and let's throw like a little something something. But y'all know how geraniums have kind of those crinkly leaves. And then once you have that, let's go ahead and right above that, let's throw like a big one, because we'll probably throw like a geranium bloom right in here. So let's go ahead and throw like a little bit of a leaf that'll kind of shadow that one. And then same thing up here. Let's have it go like a little bit higher. We're just kind of blocking in our color right now. All right, I think that's a good start to our big blob there, because we'll add some blooms. And then once we have that, let's go ahead and add like a little bit of green leaf up here too, because we'll skip up and have a bloom. going up there. And then grab a bunch of that dark green and we'll just go ahead and fill it all in. And just kind of fill it in any which way, because we'll come back and throw a bunch more paint. So just kind of go for it. Big part, little smidge, have them all filled in. So let's go ahead and wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. And let's grab a little bit bigger brush, so maybe like a size 8, and dry it off. And you can do your tabletop like whatever color, but I'm probably gonna do mine like with some turquoise blue. So I'm gonna grab like some turquoise and skip up just a smidge from the bottom of the pot and throw a little line over on both sides. And then once you have that line with the turquoise, then just go ahead and fill in like all below it, just to get some paint on there. And I would kind of do it like any which way, because we can always come back and thicken it up if it's really streaky. So we have a little layer on the bottom. Let's go ahead and wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. Grab another like size 6 brush, and let's grab like some darker reds. So kind of some bright red with maybe even a little bit of dark red. And we're just gonna do our geranium blooms that are kind of like hanging outside for right now since our green's really wet. So let's go ahead and do like one up here at the top. And to do this, I'm gonna load my brush with a lot of paint, and then I'm just gonna do a bumpy little edge. And to make it look like a geranium later, we'll come back and kind of mingle some background, some light blue in it, so it'll look piecey like a geranium. But for right now, we're just kind of gonna fill it in. So bumpy edge, and then just kind of throw you a layer. And then we'll kind of do the same thing like over here on this side. So a bumpy. And then just kind of fill it in like any which way, because we'll come back and make them look better. All right, let's go ahead and skip over here. I'm just gonna do a And then I'm gonna do one that goes right on top of that green too. And it's fine if yours hits like closer to the top or further away. I would just make sure you have a few that kind of hang out. So that way it'll kind of fill up your canvas. All right, so now the only ones really we need to do are the ones like in the green. I might do that a little part of one right here, but we'll let that green dry for a second, then we can do that. All right, so we'll let that dry. So just kind of wipe off your extra and chunk that one in the water. All right, let's grab a humongous brush, so like a 1 inch or something, and dry it off. And you can do like your background, whatever color, but I'm probably gonna keep mine kind of light. So I'm gonna use like some lighter blues, maybe even a little seafoam with it. And I'm just gonna hit all the big areas of my background first, because we can come back in just a second and get like all the way up next to everything with a smaller brush. All right, so I've got most of like the big, huge sections, because I think we can come back in and get everything else with a little bit smaller. I might go ahead while you have that big brush. Some people find it easier when you have a flat edge. Whoa, got some water there to get up next to it. All right, so now we got most of the big sections. So let's go ahead and wipe that one off and chunk it. And let's grab a little bit smaller brush. So maybe like a number 6, and dry it off. And we'll just use that same color. So, you know, your blues, whichever background color you want it. And now we're just gonna get up next to everything. So just don't leave any space between your background. I might not get right up next to the red right away. I'm gonna hit the other stuff first just because it's probably still drying. Whoa, got a little wild and crazy there. Just kind of get all the way up next to everything, because we can always come back and throw a little bit back over. So we kind of have a layer going on there. Got all the way up next to everything, I think. And while you have that background color on your brush, go ahead and just a few places in your geranium, I would throw like a few little dabs of blue. We'll come back and kind of make these like less perfect, but it's just kind of where the background's peeking through. And if we cover up these too much in a little bit, we can always come back and add a few more. But I think that got us enough. Got us a little crazy. Looks kind of funny right now, but hopefully it'll all work out. So once you have those little blue dots, then just kind of wipe off your extra. We can still use the same size, like a number 6. And let's just grab more of those darker reds. And now let's throw our geraniums that kind of go in front of the leaves. So I'm just gonna load my brush with a lot of paint and just be real light. That way you get like a bumpy edge. And now I'm just gonna kind of bump in. And I'm still gonna leave like a few little tiny bits of green showing. All right, that's a good start. And then let's go ahead and do the same kind of thing like over here. So I'm gonna do a big, huge bloom. And then keep those colors on there. And now let's go ahead and skip through here. And I would even grab a little bit of pink with like the bright red. And we're gonna add some bumps of that. So we're gonna kind of hit through all of our other geraniums that we already had on here. And whenever you're doing this, make sure you bump a little bit into the background just so it's not like a perfect line, because that's what's gonna make it look like a geranium, having the tiny little petals that a geranium has. And it's all right if like a little bit of your background kind of mixes in. But the trick is to like keep getting paint and then just be really light with it. would even go back, because we hit these kind of first before we started bumping through the other ones, and add a little bit more of that red and pink through these. And then they'll probably need a little bit more anyway because that green's so dark behind it. All right, I think that's a pretty good start to our flower. So let's go ahead and wipe that one off, chunk it in the water, and let's grab, well, I guess I didn't have to chunk it. We could use that same one and just kind of wipe it off and grab some really dark green again. And let's go ahead and throw another layer in through our green just to kind of get it thickened up, because then we're getting ready to come and add some light to it. That way it'll blend a little bit better, because it'll kind of be wet on wet technique. So just use like a number 6 or something, just whatever is a good like fill-in size brush, just to get you a second layer. I think we almost got us a little layer through all of our green. So then you can just kind of wipe that one off and chunk it in the water and grab like a number 4 size brush, or you could use a tiny. I use the number 4 for a lot. So like a number 4 and dry it off, and we'll grab like the 2 greens together. Maybe a little bit more limey slimy green. So grab like a really light green, like a limey slimy. You can still have a little dark on your brush. And now towards the edge, we're gonna kind of shape our leaves. So you wanna load your brush with a lot of paint and then just be like real light and loosey-goosey. So you're just doing this kind of right on top of your green, but that's gonna help kind of shape. So you can kind of wiggle it a little bit as you go. But this will just kind of help shape our leaves. And it's going to dry a little bit darker than it goes on, so don't worry if it looks like really bright when you're putting it on there. And then while you still have that color, let's kind of do our little stems. So I'm going to throw like a little stem. It's going to kind of connect these. I can even throw a little stem over here. I'm going to have kind of the but just make sure that all your geraniums are kind of connected to it. So all these ones we have hanging out here, you want to make sure there's a little something something connecting them. That way they're not just hanging out. And then now we kind of got them connected. So let's throw, like I would have, in a few places it can kind of go into the edge. Same thing like right here. So kind of give the impression that the stem's kind of behind it. You just want it to barely be there though. And then while you still have those same, kind of grab more of the dark green with that slimy limey. We'll throw a little bit of that like near the edges, just so the leaves kind of go lighter to darker on the inside. So we're gonna kind of but we'll just kind of do that through all of them. So just right near the edges, kind of grab both the greens, some dark and some light, and kind of blend it. All right, that's a good start to it, because we might come back and lighten up the edges of our leaves. But then go ahead and wipe that one off and grab some dark brown. So still like a number 4, just kind of wipe it off and grab dark brown. And now we'll kind of add that droopy line that separates the little top part of our pot. And then I would add a little bit of brown to the bottom of the pot too, like a little glare, a little shadow. And then while you have that dark, kind of mix it with the caramels and the orange and stuff like you used before. And we're gonna throw a little bit of dark more on like this right hand edge. And then you can just kind of brush it into the left a little. And we'll do that through the top too. And then now once you have a little bit of dark on there, let's grab some more caramel and orange. And we're gonna kind of throw a little bit more through the rest of our pot. All right, so we got us a little bit of streaks. You could always add more color. I just like a lot of color, a lot of lights and darks, so I'm gonna grab even a little bit more orange. Throw even more in there. But that's a good start to our pot. So let's go ahead and wipe that one off and chunk that one in the water. And then let's grab like a little bit bigger size brush, like a number 8 again, and dry it off. And we're gonna throw another layer in through the bottom. So just some more of whatever color you did, like your table. And we're just gonna throw a second layer just to get that thickened up. All right, so we got like a second layer through our little table. So now let's let that dry for a second, and then we'll come back and kind of add a little bit brighter to our petals, and then we'll probably be done. So just kind of wipe that one off and chunk it in the water, and we'll let it dry for just a sec. So let's grab like a number 6 and dry it off. And let's grab, just to get these, let's hit the lighter parts. I was getting ready to call them hydrangeas, but geraniums. Let's hit those again. So like some red, some dark pink, maybe even a tiny bit of white. And we're just gonna add like a few light bumps. All right, so now we've got like some lighter little dabs, because even though they're red geraniums, you want some like lights going on. Okay, so we have it a little bit lighter. Now let's grab some like dark red and bright red with that same brush, and we're just gonna bump some of that back in, kind of everywhere where we didn't dab the light. And that'll kind of help you get those delicate little piecey petals that we're going for. And this is where you can eat away at those blue little dabs. Eat away at those just a little bit, just so they won't be perfect on there. All right, this will probably dry pretty good. So let's just wipe that one off and chunk it. And let's grab like a teeny tiny brush. It's like a number 1. And let's grab some more of the lighter green, and we're just gonna hit like the edges just a little bit. Too perfect with it. Okay, so we have that. Now I would just go ahead, I think it's gonna dry pretty good, so go ahead and wipe that one off. And I would choose like whatever color and go ahead and sign your name. Then we can see if it looks good. And there we have the red geraniums. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Be sure to check us out. We're on Cox Street in Asheboro. And be sure to check out our website, www.thepreppypossum.com.